Welcome to another video from Play Simple Chords. In this tutorial, I'm going to cover some of the theory behind the previous 4 lessons that I presented on gospel chords. In the previous lesson, we did the key of E flat, A flat, D flat, and G flat. And I thought I would take a little bit of time to explain in a little more detail where some of the chords come from and how you can identify chords in a progression that you can add additional harmony to. So we're going to use the key of B, which is the upcoming the upcoming key that I'll be doing the song Jesus Keep Me Near the Cross, and then I'll be applying gospel chords to it. But before I did that, I wanted to do an overview of the theory. Now we all know that each scale tone has a chord associated with it. So let's look at the scale of B major, which will be the scale that I'm going to use for this demonstration. So we have B is the 1, C sharp is the 2, D sharp is 3, E 4, F sharp 5, G sharp 6, A sharp 7, and then we're back at B. Okay, when you look at the scale, you can see that each scale has a chord, or scale tone has a chord associated with it. So one of the pieces of information we get is whether the chords are minor, or major, or dominant. So we have B major, C sharp minor, D sharp minor, E major, and then we have F sharp major or F sharp dominant 7, and then we have G sharp minor, we have A sharp minor, actually A sharp minor 7 flat 5, or if it's just a straight A sharp minor, it would be, and then back to B. So and I'll cover that difference on the 7th chord in a couple of screens later. So we also have another piece of information. We know that B is the 1, C is the 2, 3, D sharp is 3, E is 4, F sharp 5, G sharp 6, A sharp 7, and B1. Now, this may seem very basic and simple, but those 3 pieces of information are going to help guide you when you're looking at your chord progressions and give you information on where you can go with the chord progression, which chords you can use in the chord progression. So if we move on and we boil that bit of information down to its essence, the real thing that's happening there that you can apply to any key is that you're basically moving from major to minor, or major to dominant, or from a diminished chord to some other chord, or from a minor 7 flat 5 to some other chord. So the basic movement again is major to minor, minor to major, or minor to diminished, or diminished to some other chord. And if you look, you have 3 chords that are minor, and their scale tones are 2, 3, and 6. And you have 3 chords that are major, and their scale tones are 1, 4, and 5. The exception is 5 can be a dominant 7 depending on how you're using it in the scale and in the harmony. And then 7 can either be used as a diminished passing tone, which it often is, or it can be used as a minor 7 flat 5 in a 2-5-1 progression. Now, when you take that information again and boil it down to another level, you'll see that your chord movements, the most dominant chord movement is a 2-5-1. And if you look at the minor chords, I had mentioned earlier, there are 2, 3, and 6, 3 minor chords. Then there's one chord that can be major or dominant, and that's the 5 chord. And then there's 3 chords that are major. And that's the 1, 4, and the 5. So what you see, if you look at this little chart, and you're doing a minor or dominant major, going from a minor to a major in a 2-5-1. So this is what we call a 2-5-1 in the major. You'll see that you can go 2-5-1. You can go 3-5-4. Now, you can't do that all in the parent key. What you're going to have to do is borrow chords from harmonic minor keys or parallel minor keys or the parallel major key. But in essence, this is the map that you can use to figure out the chords and their progression and their movement from minor dominant to major. And then in the table, you can see a variety of chord options that you can use on the minor. You can do a minor 6, a minor 6-9, a minor 7 sus, minor 11, move into a dominant. And the dominant is a special category too. You can have some basic dominant chords, 9 sharp 11, 13 sharp 11, 9 flat 5, so forth. But the real beauty of the dominant is when you start adding altered chords in the dominant family, then you can really get some interesting sounds in your progression. Of course, you have your major chords too. You have your basic major 7th, you can have a major 9th, 6-9, and so forth. But there's also another 2-5-1, and that 2-5-1 is minor, minor, major minor, or minor dominant minor. And this is where you begin to add different harmonies to your minor chords, and you're moving to another minor chord. So you're not doing a major 2-5-1, you're doing a minor 2-5-1. Same principles apply. You'll see that I added the 7th in this table because it uses the minor 7 flat 5. So the 7 is no longer functioning like a diminished chord. It's going to function like a 2 chord, taking you to a minor 1 in a 2-5-1 progression. But you have other options. You can go 2-5-1, you can go 3-5-4, but in actuality, these are all going to be 2-5-1. It's just the target key is going to be a different key than the parent key that you're actually operating in. Now, when we look at this, I've demonstrated before how you can have the chords in the scale arranged on a circle, and you'll get a different harmonic sound. Well, this can also be used to identify target chords and their most common 2-5-1 progressions that can be used to take you to those target chords. So on the 1, of course, you're in the parent scale, so you'd be using the 2-5-1 of the parent scale. So the 1 and the target chord, in this case, is B major, because we're using B major as the example. So all of these chords are in the B major scale. Next, going around the circle, if you use 4 as a target chord, a common progression that you'll hear is a 5-1-4. Those are the bass tones in the parent scale, but the actual harmony is a 2-5-1 coming from the major scale of E major. So E major is the target, and you look at those chords that provide the progression. It's actually a 2-5-1 in the key of E major. Now, for simplicity or for ease of understanding, you can continue to call it 5-1-4. You just have to remember when 4 is a target chord, 5 is no longer a dominant chord. 5 is going to be a minor chord. And the 1 is no longer a major chord. It's going to be a dominant chord. So B would be a dominant chord. And that would get you your 5-1-4. Or if you're looking at it from a theory standpoint, it gets you your 2-5-1. Then next, going around the circle, we start using the harmonic minor. So 7 is going to be the target chord, and we know 7 is that chord that has a couple of different uses. It can be a diminished chord, or it can be a minor 7 flat 5 chord. But in all of these cases where we are using borrowed chords or other progressions to create the harmony, the the target chord is going to be treated like a 1 chord. And in this particular situation, the A sharp chord, which is the same as B flat, it's just spelled enharmonically. But the A sharp chord is the 1 chord. It's going to be the target. So you can look at the bass tones from the parent scale, and that's going to be a flat 2, a flat 5, and then you're going to go to 7, which is your target chord. But if you look at it from a theory standpoint, it's a 2, 5, 1 of B flat minor, B flat harmonic minor. So all of those chords that you see in that table, the C minor 7 flat 5 is not in the B major scale. So that C minor 7 flat 5 comes from the parent scale of B flat minor, B flat harmonic minor. And then the F7 is a dominant chord. But the F in B is F sharp. So you're taking a different chord, gives you a different sound and a different feel if you use the 2-5-1 of the harmonic minor for the 7. And you treat the 7 as a 1. You're not going to see that commonly, but there may be some situations where you'll see it. The others in this circle are far more common. Going around the circle, the next progression would be treating D sharp minor or E flat because they're enharmonically the same. D sharp and E flat are the same tones. So if you look at that, we're going to be using a 2-5-1 of the E flat harmonic minor. So we're going to a minor chord, but in order to use a 2, 5, and a 1, we have to change some chords. And when we do that, we're essentially borrowing chords from the harmonic minor scale. So when you look at this particular progression, F minor 7 flat 5, and we're in the key of B, so that's why we can clearly see in this example that we're borrowing chords from a different scale, because F minor is not in the scale of B major. And then B flat 7 flat 9 is not in the scale of B major. So we get a 2-5-1 in the key of E flat minor. So we would get a F minor 7 flat 5, excuse me, F minor 7 flat 5, B flat 7 flat 9, E flat minor 7. The next progression going around the circle, we would be treating 6 as the target chord. And 7-3-6, that's one you've heard of many times. In this particular case, that bass tones are 7-3-6, but the chord structure makes these chords come from the harmonic minor scale of G sharp minor. So you would look at A sharp minor 7 flat 5, D sharp 7 sharp 9 sharp 5, and a G sharp minor 7. All of these chords would come from the G sharp minor 7 harmonic minor scale. And if you look, these chords are not serving the same function except for the minor 7 flat 5. It is in the B major scale, but D sharp 7, D sharp is not a dominant chord in the scale of B major. So that borrowing situation creates a 2-5-1 with 6 being the target chord. So we have a minor 2-5-1. Now the next chord that we'll be looking at is a 2 chord. And again, to add additional harmony, you're looking at the 2 chord as the target chord. And for that chord, we're going to play a 3-6-2, which would be the bass tones. But if you look at the actual harmony structure is based on 2 being the target chord, which is a C sharp or D flat minor 7, going and having a D sharp minor 7 flat 5, moving to a G sharp 7 flat 9 to a C sharp minor 7. So you have a 2-5-1 for the 2 chord using the harmonic minor of C sharp or D flat. And then finally, we have the movement to the 5 chord. And remember, when we talked about 5 being the target chord, it had can serve 2 functions. It could be a dominant chord, or it could be a major chord. And in this example, it's going to be treated as a major chord, and it's going to be the 1 of a 2-5-1 progression. And again, the bass tones are 6, 2, and 5. But when you look at the chord progression, it's actually a 2-5-1 in the F sharp harmonic minor scale, or excuse me, in the F sharp major scale. So the parent scale for this 2-5-1 progression would be F sharp major 7. Now, I hope this sets a foundation for understanding the application of this concept to future songs. And I will be applying these chord concepts in the scale of B to the song Jesus Keep Me Near the Cross, and that'll be in the next video. Thank you for watching my tutorials. Simple chords are the building blocks for making advanced chords. And I hope you find that these tutorials are helpful to you on your musical journey. Please like, subscribe, and share these tutorials with others who have a desire to learn how to play music at the piano. I look forward to sharing other tutorials with you in future videos.